There were two things that we did in the show. Every year, creatively, I try to introduce new element into this to the writing staff, which is preferably to hire someone who had never worked before. The only real, the only thing you needed to have, the only real qualification was that you had no qualifications. So I would try to meet someone from some other field that I was excited about and bring them in. Michael Whitehorn, we started with him. He was a school teacher at the Brentwood School. Mark Lawrence, this was the funniest, who's now gone on to a huge career as a writer-director of feature films, created Miss Congeniality series. It has Words and Music coming out now with Hugh Grant. I have all these spec scripts in my office, that people are sending in. I come in one day, I read it, just pick it out of a pile. And I'm reading the script from kid Mark Lawrence. He's in Long Island. I'm reading it. It's really funny. I go, wow, this is good. I go, you know what? This is as good as anything we're doing. And I call him up in Long Island. I go, he tells me a story. He was just thrown out of NYU Law School or asked to take a leave. I go, yes, this has resonance. I like it. And he goes, I want to be I go, this is very good. I go, so you know what? I'm going to hire you. Why don't you come on the show and you'll be the story editor? And he goes, I don't know. I don't want to move I'm in Long Island. I have to come to California. I go, no, you know what? You're right. You stay there. We'll move the show. Yes, where did you send the script? You sent it to California. He comes out, he's a cross between Hugh Grant and Woody Allen, and he's in shorts with red tennis shoes and a Beatles t-shirt, and he goes, my mother told me I should wear a suit, but I don't have one. I go, yes, you've come to the right place. Come here. And the minute this kid sits down, he's brilliant. We hired this guy, Bruce Helford, who went on to do Drew Carey and George Lopez. He was a fugitive from advertising, and he had a partner. It was interesting going back to now that you're making me think about this, but the whole Brooklyn thing, he had a partner. The partner wasn't good. I said, Bruce, get rid of this guy and you have a job. He's not good and I don't like him. You have a job, but not with him. I'm sorry. It's cruel, it's mean, whatever it is, but that's what we got. And it was because the guy wasn't nice. I think if he was not good and okay, maybe, but he wasn't nice. So that was that. Then Sue Borowitz, who with her husband Andy created Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then a young woman, Katie Ford, who was a Canadian playwright. I think now executive produced Desperate Housewives, who was brilliant and young. And she was, I could see how the world was changing because she was scared of me. She was young, and I was somehow something, and she was scared, and she would really be tense when she spoke to me. And the other funny thing is, whenever there was danger, difficult times, script not working, I would take a quick nap. And a lot of times I sometimes would wake up and I'd have it, but I got a nap, and I could go to sleep instantly. So we were all there in the writing room, and I said, I'm going to lie down for a minute. And I lie down, and she said later, she thought I had died, because she said no one could fall asleep that fast. You were like this. And she's thinking, he's not that young anyway, So she said, should I tell people that the boss has died, or are we just going to go try to solve this scene? And then I would wake up and go, okay, what could do this, But it was a very interesting group, very highly overeducated group. We had Alan Huger, who was one of the original members of this group called the New York City Stickball Team, which featured, among other people, Robert Klein. We had Lloyd Garver, who had been the story editor on Alice and then worked on Newhart. And Ruth Bennett was another. I hired Ruth Bennett. I had never met her. She was, I read a spec mash that she wrote, and I liked it a lot. And I called her agent, Steve White, and I said, Ruth Bennett, he goes, you can't. She lives in Israel now. She's on a kibbutz. I go, well, I want to hire her. He goes, well, if you want to hire her, you have to hire her without meeting her. And I look at the script again. I go, I'm going to hire her. There's no way I'm not going to like this person who could write the script. And Ruth said it was so crazy. She gets off a tractor, in getting off from picking oranges, and they say, you have to go to California. You're going to be on this new show, Family Ties. So I pictured kibbutzniks all over Israel getting the call, getting off their tractors. Yitzchak, A-Team, Mordechai, let's go, Fall Guy. Come on. What was that? But they all turned out to be great, just great.
What was the atmosphere in the writers' room?
It was great. It was not. When I think, for the most part, I think about the writers' room because it was extraordinary how everyone there made everyone better. It's like being on a good team. Being on a show is like being on a team. Being on a good show is like being on a good team. You create the circumstance where you can win. Family Ties, we knew we were going to win. It was like, who's going to solve it now? And the real key in that room is to be, again, non-judgmental, because you don't know what idea is going to lead to what other idea. So everyone has to feel safe there. Everyone has to feel no matter what I say, I'm safe. And we had that, and real respect. And people were just genuinely nice people. And of course, I was the oldest, Now, Whitehorn and Mark Lawrence, who were like my two John boys, in effect, the two guys that I found. Years later, they told me that on slow days, just to cheer themselves up, they would think of the worst possible Family Ties idea to come in and pitch it to me just to see me explode. And I never caught on. And I'm thinking, these are my guys. What are they doing? They come in and go, boss, hear this out. They used to call me boss like in the old 40s gangster movies. Boss, just listen. This is not an obvious idea. I know this isn't obvious, and it's going to be very controversial, okay? I go, all right, what? Just think. Don't answer till you hear the whole thing. I go, what? Alex and Mallory have sex. I go, what? He goes, boss, this could be very helpful to the incest community. I go, what incest community? Because they're out there and they watch a lot of TV. And I'm thinking, what? I screamed. Mike said, in these 7 years, I never once let them down. I would always just go through the roof, just, this is the stupidest idea I ever heard. Get out of here, Yeah, that's mean. Comedy has a dark side.
Did you have rules for the writers in terms of what the characters could and couldn't do, anything like that?
No, we really didn't have any rules. And one of the things you always say to the writers, especially as they got younger and I got older, was, don't worry about me. You don't want to be in a room where people are worried about you. If you're sitting there and you're worrying about my reaction or what I'm going to think, we're dead, because then why do I need you? I need what you have, what's best. You give me what you have unfiltered, and I'll decide, and I can protect myself. Believe me, if I want to do something, you could line up all of America on one side, and it's just, if you have that feeling. But that was my show. Because it was my show and there was no other voices in there above me, no network, no studio, it was easier for people because, there was just, no one was going to come in and change anything. So they knew it was just between me at that point and them. A lot of times, especially as we moved on, I would let them do things that I didn't think was right, but because you realize that I wasn't the only keeper of Family Ties. At the beginning I was. At the beginning I was the one who, maybe the only one who knew what an episode was. But as these guys came in and made such major contributions, in a way, they expanded what that could be. And sometimes what an episode wasn't what I maybe even would have thought it was early on, The hardest thing for me to do was to give up control, any kind of control. I actually was a lunatic on that show, And then I realized, at some point I realized, if I don't work 24 hours a day and I just work 18, no one's even going to notice the difference. For the 1 or 2 seconds in a show that I would look, I go, I would have done that differently. I could just give away so much power here and, and let people take over, especially in the editing where I was psychotic, Even now, if I watch old Family Ties episodes, I am re-editing them. I'm thinking, we're too long. We're too long on that shot. We should have gotten off that shot. What were we thinking? Way too late, by the way.